bodark tree, sometimes known as Osage Orange, sometimes known as hedge. It's native to this part of the country. It's growing here amongst the hardwood bottoms of Bell Cow Creek. It is a very hard and tough wood. Early settlers in this area used it as fence posts and other things. It gets its name bodark from the French word meaning wood of the bow, or bow wood. It gets its name Osage Orange from the fact that it was discovered on the prairies inhabited by the Osage tribe, and it produces large fruit that resemble grapefruit or large oranges. They have a very knobby outer covering. They were once prize food for a lot of the larger animals that roam the prairie, even squirrels, various things like that. In fact, there are no fruit underneath this tree, but it is a fruit-bearing tree, has no real use. The fruit has no real use for us. But I've decided that this is a wood that I want to make the handle for my tomahawk out of. It has a very yellowish, orangish look, and when left natural, when covered in linseed oil, it's really a quite pretty wood. Wood turners like it today. They turn various different things out of it, pins, bowls, stuff like that. And I think when we get the haft on the tomahawk, you will see that it is probably fitting for someone who inhabited this area, such as the voyageurs or coups de bois during the 18th century. And so I think it would be very appropriate for a tomahawk handle. Now on my bodark handle, I have an arrow showing that that's the front, and that goes on there. I have not split it at all. So I will then put a split or a saw kerf in there, and then I will put a wooden edge in it. Let's see if I can start this with a pretty thin blade to get a kerf going, and then I'll come in with a wider saw. I know I'm shaking that camera all over the place. Let's see if we can do a little better job. Okay. Oh, kerf going. My arrow on top, I put a red dot on the front to differentiate the front and back. Camera switched over. Took the autofocus off. Now, looks a little off center, but I think it'll be all right. Good work, guys, but that's a little rickety for this kind of stuff. I'm using a stiff back saw, old substitute miter saw. I think it does a little better job. Okay, it's going good. I don't know whether this kerf should be thick enough to make a wedge in or not. I've been kind of studying on that, trying to figure out how they want to do that. May have to just widen it out with another run. And I'm definitely off center. We'll try to straighten her up a little bit. I want this to be about the depth of the eye, I believe. And we still got a little ways to go. And when I did get it all the way fitted, it was a little proud of the eye, so I think just a skosh more. All right, we're gonna call that good. Bong. I'm getting ready to begin sharpening the Tomahawk. I'm going to do this at least initially before I put it on the handle, just because it's easier to put in the jig of the Tomahawk. This is an axe sharpening jig. I think it will work for the Tomahawk. Basically, it will hold it at a steady angle and allow me to slow grind the bevel on the Tomahawk. I will use the same concept of Sharpie on the metal to ensure that I'm taking it off uniformly across the face of the cutting edge. This Tomahawk hadn't been used in a while, so I'm having to put water in because that stone will continue to absorb that water until it saturates it and gets it to where the stone is basically saturated, at least in the grinding side. So over here we have the leather honing wheel. We put a compound on there and we hone it. This is for contours, gouges, stuff like that, so that's not really going to be important here. But as you can see, the water level has dropped down, so I need to add some more water. There's a fill line there. Just keep filling it up to that fill line until it quits dropping. We'll see how that goes for a while. And let it just keep soaking that up. The water level has stayed pretty consistent. So I think we're probably good to at least start now. It may need some again here in a minute, but I have also marked my face, at least this side, not this side. This side, this will be the one I do first. It'll be against the stone. We'll see where she starts grinding it off. And this head, this was the one that we hardened and tempered in the last video. And I like the patina. I like that. I probably won't do anything else to it. And then once we get this edge sharpened and polished to a mirror-like state, then that's where we'll probably put a piece of tape over it while we're putting it on the haft, and just to kind of protect this. And then painter's tape will be what I'll use. And then we'll go from there. Okay, that's just merely 2 passes on the Tomahawk. And the good thing about the water-cooled wheel is it's not going to heat. We can remove some pretty good amounts of metal without changing the temper in the blade. And so you can see we still have a blunt edge there. But once we get this going, I'll flip it over. We don't want to remove a whole lot of metal. That's not what sharpening is. Sharpening is just removing just what's required to get the edge where it needs to be. In fact, most times after you get something sharpened, especially on my carving tools, it'll never touch a stone again unless I damage it, drop it, do something like that, put a ding in it. The only way I sharpen it then is just honing it on leather. And even this turning wheel, leather wheel, is a little much. I just use a hand strop, put a little sharpening compound on it. She's good. So we'll check our angle here in just a minute to see what kind of angle bevel we're putting on it. I'm shooting for about I'm shooting for about a 25-degree angle. So we'll see how that comes out. Still need some work on the bottom part of the blade, and then we're going to turn it over and hit it on the top part, or on the opposite side. Now, anytime, boy, you can really start to feel that. Now, when you grind, you will create a wire edge, and that's what the honing does, is it removes that wire edge. So, I think we're going to turn it over and do the other side. Let's mark it, just to make sure our first passes are consistent. So that means we turn it over in the jig, put it in there, make sure we're flush against it. You can see how we're taking it down pretty consistently, leaving just the higher Sharpie, and that is you can feel how it's sharpening. Of course, it's obviously still got a rough edge that needs to be honed and everything, but you can tell that I went from what was a rough filing to now Now, this has always been a problem I've had with any kind of curved bladed tool, curved meaning like this, and that is I don't know if that's called the heel, the toe, whatever that is. That's the part that I always seem to struggle with the most. The top part is fine, so we're gonna Still like just a little bit there on that lower part. Okay, we're going to stop at that point with the grinding. We don't need to take much more metal. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to switch over, and I'll coat this wheel with honing compound, and then and normally I don't use a jig to hone because you're removing such small amounts that it really doesn't. I freehand most of it. So, okay, there we go with that. Okay, this is the Tomahawk honing compound. It's just a paste with some abrasiveness to it, and we're going to put it on here and coat it down. There's no real good way of doing this. It just gets messy. So let's turn it on. It does tend to separate a little bit, so I need to knead it a little bit. As you saw, it kind of like a thing of mustard. The mustard squirts. All right, let's. Yeah, I still got the mustard squirts. All right, got it on there. Let me clean up my mustard squirts here. It's also important to periodically clean that up. And you always want the wheel turning away from you when you're stropping, otherwise you'll cut into your leather belt. This is what also removes that wire edge, which a blade may be sharp, but if you have a wire edge on it, the first time it gets into any kind of material that's got any kind of hardness to it, that wire will fold over and your blade will go from razor sharp to near brick dull. My phone is doing something here. Put that back on there. Okay, we're gonna wipe this down, take a look at it. We'll say we're not trying to make a shaving implement. Or even a kitchen implement. We're making something to fight with. We'll clean this up here in just a second. Take a look at it. Now, I will take pride, or I will want to put a good edge on it, just because that's what I do. Anyway, we're going to clean this up. see what she looks like. Hopefully with that light like that, you can see that I've pretty well got that edge mirror polish down, which basically all you're really doing when you're mirror polishing is, one, you're removing that wire edge, and you're also removing the little, believe it or not, when you sharpen, based on the coarseness of your stone, you're basically creating a serrated type edge. So I'm removing that. So now just kind of a little test to see what it's like. I'm going to use it kind of as a roll knife. And she cuts it. That's probably all I'm going to do to it. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. But that right there, it's now. I'll put some painter's tape over that. Let's get it hafted up. Okay. Going to trying to decide whether or not I want to do anything to the color of the handle or just oil it as is. I've used Aqua Fortis on some bodark, but yet the neck knife that I wear, it's got in fact, it's, I think, from the same actual piece of this bodark that I put the scales on it with. And it's kind of, it really doesn't work well. Aqua Fortis does. I mean, it works well. It just doesn't achieve the same thing that it would on, say, curly maple or ash or something like that. So, I don't know. I think I'll just go ahead and just put this handle on, oil this up, call it good. Here's the neck knife that I made the scales out of, and I'm pretty sure it came out of the same piece of bodark this came out of. I tried a test piece with Aqua Fortis, and I really didn't like the way it came out. So I think I'm going to have the Hawk blade, Hawk haft handle. I think I'm going to have it match this. This is a little French pattern patch knife, neck knife. So I think I'm going to have it match. Since I'm just going to oil it, I can go ahead and attach the handle, the haft, because I don't have to worry about Aqua Fortis on the metal or anything like that. It's just oil. It's good for it. I think we're going to do that. That's just kind of to protect it a little bit. I don't think I'm going to use any glue on this because I just don't know that glue is necessary. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in, drive it in there, and then I'm trying to decide whether to use some brass cut tacks or I want to use some copper cut tacks, because usually when you wooden wedge a tool, you also put in a cross piece of a metal wedge, and this is just too small. But I have used these before. For example, I've used it in this tack hammer that I use for basically driving the canoe tacks. But this handle, this is a very old little tack hammer, but this is very old, and that handle was loose. And you can see I went in and put 4 in the corner, and they don't even have to really stick in the wood, just kind of drive them down in there. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is do that to secure that in there once it's in there. That's the reason, one of the reasons why I don't think I need any wood. So let's try this. Yeah. see that that's already split that little wedge, but it's no big deal. Okay, so as I said, the handle is even a little bit proud, so what I'll do is I'll just cut that whole thing off right there, and then we will we'll put some tacks down in there. Call that good. I keep saying it. We call it good, and then we keep adding more steps on it, so at some point I'm going to be right. What I did is I drove that wooden wedge in as far as it would go. It started to split. I then drove a brass canoe tack in at the split. It actually was so tight that brass is so soft that it started to bend over. So I stopped, and then I cut it off on the bandsaw, just slightly proud of the head. The brass is soft, so the bandsaw's got a fairly robust blade in it. Cut right through it. And then I took 2 copper cut tacks because I had just a little bit of a gap here at the edges, and I drove those down in there. I don't know whether that's period or not. I mean, I could see where a guy on the, carrying this, hey, the head's loose or it didn't quite fit right. We're going to do what we need to do. Brass and copper tacks would have been pretty common, especially in the leather and saddlery industry. And so that right there, it's got some rough spots. I may just leave it and may just put some linseed oil on it. We're going to call it good. I keep saying that. But I don't think, I'll probably just show a picture or some video of it when it's done, rather than me putting it on it. There it is.